Hello, guys. Today I am discussing the strange accident or drama. However, we ask in the "And why girl give permission to foreigner boy?" Let's see. In a small German town where the river curved like a patient, thought, and the church bell measured time more faithfully than any watch, people believed they knew one another. The town was called Waldkirch, a place of red-roofed houses, trimmed hedges, and quiet rules that lived not only in law books, but in glances, pauses, and the way neighbors greeted each other on the street. Outsiders passed through on trains, sometimes stopping for bread or coffee, rarely staying. Those who stayed were remembered. Anna Keller had lived there all her life. She was 42, a librarian by profession and by temperament, someone who liked order, margins, and silence, but who also understood that the deepest truths often hid between lines. Her house stood at the edge of town, near the forest. A modest two-story building her parents had bought decades ago, when factories still hummed and the town still believed it would grow. It had not grown. It had aged. Anna lived alone. Her father had died young, her mother later, and her brother had moved to Hamburg long ago, chasing a life that never returned him to Waldkirch except on Christmas postcards. People in town thought of Anna as kind but reserved, dependable but distant. She volunteered at the library's children's hour, watered her garden with quiet devotion, and nodded politely to neighbors without inviting them in. Her house, people assumed, was as orderly as her shelves. Then, one autumn evening, she let a foreigner stay in it. The foreigner arrived on a Tuesday, the kind of day that promised nothing unusual. The train was late. Rain had been falling since morning, thin and relentless, turning the cobblestones dark and slick. Anna had stayed longer than usual at the library, cataloging a box of donated books written in languages she could not read but recognized by their alphabets. She liked the mystery of them. Each script was a promise of a story that had traveled far. When she reached the station, she noticed him immediately, because he was standing still in a place meant for movement. He was not begging, not pacing, not smoking. He simply stood with a small backpack at his feet, holding a folded paper and looking at the departure board as if it might eventually speak to him. He wore a thin jacket unsuitable for the cold, and his shoes were soaked. Anna would later tell herself that she noticed him because she was trained to notice details. In truth, she noticed him because something about his stillness felt familiar. She passed him once, then stopped. It was not bravery that made her turn back. It was recognition, the kind that comes not from shared history, but from shared vulnerability. She asked in German if he needed help. He looked relieved to hear the language, then apologetic when he answered in broken German that he spoke only a little. His name was Milan. He was from Serbia. He had come to Germany on a temporary work visa to help install solar panels on farms near Freiburg. The company had gone bankrupt 2 weeks earlier. The contract ended overnight. He had been paid late, then not at all. His landlord had demanded rent he could not pay. He had one night in a hostel, then none. Anna listened. She did not interrupt. Librarians learn early that listening is a form of respect. She asked where he was going. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Maybe Munich. Maybe back home. I am waiting for money from my cousin." He said tomorrow. Tomorrow is a dangerous word. It carries hope without guarantees. Anna did not invite him home immediately. That detail mattered to her later, when the town began to talk. She offered him tea at the station cafe. They sat by the window while rain turned the world gray. Milan told her he had studied engineering but worked with his hands because degrees did not always translate across borders. He showed her photos on his phone. His mother's garden, a half-built house he was helping to finish, his younger sister at a graduation ceremony. Anna told him very little about herself. She said she worked with books. She said she lived nearby. When the cafe closed and the rain grew colder, she felt the weight of the decision settle into her chest. Waldkirch was safe, but it was safe because it trusted sameness. Letting a stranger into that equation meant accepting uncertainty, not just in her house, but in her reputation, her routines, her sense of control. She thought of the languages she could not read sitting patiently on her library shelves. "You can stay one night," she said finally. "I have a spare room. Tomorrow you decide." Milan looked at her as if she had handed him something fragile and priceless. He did not hug her. He did not cry. He simply said thank you many times, as if repetition could anchor the moment. That night, Anna prepared the spare room with clean sheets and a blanket that smelled faintly of lavender. She locked her bedroom door out of habit, then felt ashamed and unlocked it again. Milan ate the soup she made with quiet gratitude, asked permission before touching anything, and fell asleep almost immediately. Anna did not sleep much, not because she was afraid, but because she was thinking. In a small town, permission is rarely just personal. It is social. Invisible contracts govern behavior. You do not make noise after 10. You do not pry. You do not host strangers without explanation. Anna knew this. She had lived by these rules. And yet, as she lay awake, listening to the unfamiliar sound of another person breathing in her house, she felt something shift, not dramatically, but decisively. In the morning, she made coffee and bread. Milan apologized for everything he could think of. The rain, the trouble, the space he occupied. She told him not to. She gave him a towel and directions to the shower. When he came down, she noticed that he had folded the blanket neatly, hospital style. They talked about practicalities. The money from his cousin had not arrived yet. The embassy would take time. Trains cost money he did not have. 2 more nights, Anna said, surprising herself. No more, we'll see. The town noticed on the second day. Frau Becker from across the street saw Milan watering Anna's plants. Herr Vogt at the bakery noticed an unfamiliar accent, ordering bread. The librarian had a guest. The librarian had a male guest. The librarian had a foreign guest. People asked politely at first, "Who is he? A relative? A student?" Anna answered truthfully, but briefly. "A guest, just for a short time." Truth in small towns is rarely enough. It demands interpretation. By the third night, Milan had received part of the money. Not enough to travel far, but enough to breathe. He offered to leave immediately. Anna told him to stay until the weekend. She justified it logically. Trains were cheaper, offices open, but the truth had shifted again. His presence had become a mirror in which she saw her own life more clearly. She saw how quiet her house had been, how careful she had become, how little room she had left for surprise. They did not become romantic. That, too, mattered. Their connection was built on shared meals, long conversations, and the simple dignity of coexisting. Milan helped fix a loose stare. Anna helped him write emails in German. They laughed at misunderstandings. They respected silences. On Friday, Anna's neighbor confronted her directly. "You should be careful," Frau Becker said, voice lowered as if discussing a scandal. "You don't know him." "People will talk." Anna smiled politely. "People always talk." "But why would you allow it?" Frau Becker pressed. "You don't have to. This is not your responsibility." That night, Anna understood the real question. Why had she given permission? The answer was not heroism. It was not charity. It was not rebellion. It was memory. When Anna was 12, her mother had taken in a woman from East Germany. For 3 months after the wall fell, the woman had arrived with one suitcase and eyes that had learned to watch doors. She stayed quietly, helped in the kitchen, cried at night. Anna remembered the way her mother had said, "If you have space, you make space." Not because it is required, but because it changes who you are. Anna had forgotten that lesson as she grew older and safer. On Sunday morning, Milan left. He hugged her this time carefully. He promised to write. He left a note on the kitchen table, thanking her not just for the room, but for the permission to rest. The town did not change overnight. Some people disapproved. Some admired her quietly. Some forgot. Anna changed. She did not turn her house into a hostel. She did not seek attention. But the spare room stayed ready. And when, months later, another traveler stood still in a place meant for movement, she recognized the moment again. She had learned that permission, once given, reshapes the giver as much as the receiver. That was the reason. Not politics, not pity. Human space, when offered freely, becomes a bridge. And bridges, even in small towns, are meant to be crossed. If you like or amused with my video, please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends. Thanks you.